So what does it truly mean to be ready for the future? Well, according to the Enduring Word commentary on Matthew chapter 25, Jesus actually gave this incredibly powerful, unified answer through 3 stories you've probably heard before. So today, we're going to dive into that commentary and see how these parables all connect to one single critical theme: readiness.
Yeah, the whole chapter really boils down to this one big question. How do you prepare for a future you can't possibly predict? I mean, that's a question we all have to face, right? And according to this commentary, Jesus uses these next 3 stories to give a really profound, multi-layered answer to that exact problem.
All right, let's jump right in with lesson 1. This is all about internal preparation. And we see this play out in the famous parable of the 10 virgins. Now, this is a story that really hones in on what's happening on the inside, not just what everyone else can see on the outside. So to really get this parable, we need a little bit of context that the commentary provides. See, a traditional Jewish wedding back then had 3 main stages. And this story, it picks up right at the most dramatic part, that final stage where everyone is just waiting for the bridegroom. But nobody, and I mean nobody, knows exactly when he's going to show up. And this is where we see the crucial difference. You know, at first glance, all 10 of these women look ready. They all have their lamps. But the real distinction, the thing that separates them, is what's hidden. The wise ones, they were actually prepared for a delay. They brought extra oil. The foolish ones, they only had enough for right now. And here's the key insight from the commentary. That crisis, that long wait, it didn't create the difference between them. It just revealed who was truly ready the whole time.
So what exactly is this oil supposed to represent? Well, the commentary offers a really powerful interpretation. It says the oil is a symbol, an emblem of the Holy Spirit. And without that, no one is genuinely ready for the bridegroom's return. It's that essential inner resource you just can't fake.
And this is why that symbolism works so well. The commentary draws these fantastic analogies. Think about it. Just like real oil can lubricate to reduce friction, heal, provide light and warmth, the Spirit is seen as doing the same thing for our lives, bringing restoration, illumination, comfort, preparing us for service. It's not just some static thing, it's a source of dynamic life.
But what about those without it? What happens to them? Well, the consequence is just severe, and it's final. When the foolish virgins finally get their act together and show up, the door is already shut, and the bridegroom delivers this absolutely chilling line: "Assuredly, I say to you, I do not know you." The commentary points out that this isn't just a casual dismissal, it's a decisive, formal rejection. The message is stark. Just appearing ready is not enough.
Okay, so let's move on to this second lesson, because you can see how this all starts to build. We're shifting now from that internal state to external action with the parable of the talents. The focus here is all about active stewardship. In other words, what you do with what you've been given. Now, first things first, the commentary makes a really crucial clarification here. When we hear the word talent today, we immediately think of a skill or some natural ability, right? But in this story, a talenton was a unit of money. And not just any money, a massive amount. It was actually a measure of weight, usually for gold or silver. So just how massive are we talking? Well, the source actually breaks it down. A single talent was worth about 6,000 denarii. And since a denarius was basically a day's wage for a regular worker, 1 talent was equal to about 20 years of work. 20! So let that sink in. Even the servant who got only 1 talent was entrusted with an absolutely enormous fortune. And right away, we see 2 totally different responses to getting this money. The first 2 servants, the commentary notes, they got to work immediately. They were productive. But the third servant, he was completely paralyzed by fear. He saw his master as this hard, demanding guy. And so his response was to do, well, nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. He just hid the money in the ground.
Now look at the master's reward when he comes back. The praise he gives isn't about the final dollar amount. It's about their character. He calls them good and faithful. And notice this, both servants who actually did something get the exact same praise because they were equally faithful with what they were given. So the crucial point here is that readiness is measured by that faithfulness in action.
The judgment for the third servant, though, is just as direct, but in the opposite way. He's called wicked and lazy. And his excuse, that he was just afraid of his powerful master, it gets completely turned against him. According to the commentary, it's his inaction, his complete failure to even try, that seals his fate. And that brings us to the third and final piece of the puzzle: compassionate evidence. The commentary presents this as the ultimate test. where readiness isn't just about your inner state or your resource management, but it's revealed in plain sight through compassionate actions toward other people. I mean, look at this. The dividing line is laid out with incredible clarity. It's not about some complex theology or jumping through intellectual hoops. It's about simple, tangible acts of kindness. Did you feed the hungry? Give a drink to the thirsty? Visit the sick? The sheep did. The goats didn't. That's it. The difference is action versus indifference.
And here is the absolutely stunning basis for the entire judgment. The king declares that how they treated the most vulnerable people, the least of these he calls them, was exactly how they were treating him, directly. And what's wild is that both groups are completely surprised. They had no idea their simple, everyday actions carried such enormous eternal weight.
Okay, so let's tie all three of these lessons together. What is the one single, overarching message that the commentary finds woven through all of Matthew 25? It's this: the incredibly high cost of doing nothing. So why is just not doing anything seen as so spiritually dangerous? Let's unpack that.
The commentary's conclusion is really powerful. It says that in all of these stories, the path to condemnation isn't paved with malicious, evil deeds. It's paved with inaction. Think about it. The foolish virgins didn't try to sabotage the wise ones. They just failed to prepare. The third servant didn't steal the money. He just did nothing with it. And the goats weren't condemned for actively hurting people. They were condemned for not helping them. Inaction, in this view, is a choice. It's a choice to turn away from your responsibility.
And this is a great way to see how it all connects. The three stories reveal these different forms of indifference that the chapter is warning us about. You've got the foolish virgins, who show indifference toward their own internal preparation. You've got the lazy servant, who's indifferent to the resources God has given. And then you have the goats, who are indifferent to the needy people all around them.
And the whole chapter ends on this very sobering note, making it crystal clear that the stakes could not possibly be higher. There are two paths and two very different final destinations. The choice between a life of active, prepared, compassionate faith and a life of simple indifference, well, it has eternal consequences.
So we're left with this one last, really powerful thought from the commentary. It suggests that the true opposite of faith isn't doubt, it's indifference. It's just not caring. And that really prompts a big question for all of us, doesn't it? In a world that is so full of noise and distraction, what does that idea, that indifference is the enemy of faith, what does that truly mean for us today?